Hi, Thoughts with Liz here. Have you ever imagined how a child can get involved in domestic violence? There is a difference between a child witnessing domestic violence and a child being actively involved in domestic violence. In a home where domestic violence exists between partners, between intimate partners, you would always find child abuse and child neglect as well. But then, does a child willingly participate in domestic violence? The answer is no. Most times, or more often, the child is persuaded or forced into actively participating in domestic violence. Now, how do you involve a child to participate in abuse? One, when you tell a child to watch and report to you, the abuser, what your victim does in your absence when you return. You have actively involved that child. When that child reports back to you about your victim, you have actively involved that child. When you tell a child in the moment of abuse to get you something that you would use to enhance your abuse. For instance, you tell a child, hey, go get me a stick or go get me a cable. You have actively involved that child in your abuse. When you tell a child to deliver a message that is abusive in nature, for instance, go tell your mother that when it's 7 p.m. and my dinner isn't ready yet, I will beat the hell out of her. And that child delivers that message. You have actively involved that child in domestic violence. Now, I'd like to talk about a story. Now, I watched this on the Oprah Winfrey Show. This was recorded in the early 2000s. This tape was recorded on the 22nd of June 2003 to be precise. A mother that was abused by a woman who was abused by her own husband, and her son was the one who videotaped the abuse. It was a 51-minute record. The father had told the son to pick up a videotape and record every detail of the abuse. Now, in that 51 minutes, the father verbally and physically abused the mother. In the tape, you could see that the child was being coached by his father. At some point, the father would tell him, zoom in, did you get that tears? Like he wants to see the tears appear in the video. And the child would answer yes. And you could tell that this is not the first time the father is involving the child in it. Why? Because you could not feel remorse or fear in the voice of the child. That child has been coerced, or the mind of the child has been damaged by the father already. Wow. So hours before the incident of the videotaping happened, something happened in the house, and the father called the children, the three children, 21-year-old, 13 and 8-year-old, to all sit, and he told them to repeatedly insult their mother and call her a white hole slut. Repeatedly, he would tell them when to start and when to stop. Now, that is the father actively involving the children, the entire children, in verbally abusing their mom. It was a very devastating and heart-wrenching video and interview to watch, I must say. When you do that to a child, you are emotionally damaging that child. You are distorting the behavioral development of that child, because that child would end up in the future being the abuser or the abused. So whenever we say that when you stay in an abusive marriage or in an abusive relationship that involves children, it is way beyond just you and your intimate partner. It goes as far as really affecting the children. A research in 2020 says that 15 million, I think more than 15 million children and adolescents are affected by the domestic violence they witnessed on a yearly basis. That is 2020. We're in 2022 getting to 2023. Do you think that the figures have dropped or have risen? That is something for you to think. But please, this is to encourage you. When you know that a home is in a toxic situation, is in an abusive situation, and children are involved, if you can and you have the capacity to take those children out of that environment for the time being, please do it. You're doing it for the future, because you do not know whether your child or your niece or one of your family member or someone who belongs to your clan would be the person that will end up being with those children. And it is high time we begin to seek therapy, help, healing, trauma healing sessions for these children who have grown in abusive homes. It is high time that we begin to look for help for them. I know our African culture, we are open to adopting children, although the now situation is very it is hard for us to do it, but then it is just the right thing for us to do. I've heard grandparents who have taken their children. They have tried to solve to help the parents come to an understanding and to live in peace, but it doesn't happen. They've tried to separate the parents, but it doesn't happen. But the best those grandparents could do was to take out their grandchildren for that time being, taking them out of that environment. And I would encourage people to do that. These children are gifts from God. What do you do with them? Do you damage them as a result of your own conflict and your own intimate partner's conflict? And you inflict them with so much damage that when they grow up, they become harmful to the society? Please, I just hope that someone who watches this video would be able to help someday. Don't forget to always be on the side that listens to victims of abuse. It is important that we give them listening ears, and I hope that people would be healed. That someone, a victim of abuse that I spoke to last week, says that it is 20 years plus, but she has forgiven. Yeah, she has forgiven, but a part of her still feels hurt whenever she talks about it. And we just pray for healing onto those people, and we just pray that they are completely healed of their trauma experience, their traumatic experience. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.